and I will go get it.
Lovely. Well, hi everybody, and welcome to this wonderful interview with the wonderful and fabulous Suzanne, a very dear client of mine and a very courageous, amazing, wonderful woman, just a warrior of the parenting world. And I'm thrilled that she's here to talk to us today. So Suzanne, thank you so much for being here. It's so generous of you, and you are one of the bravest people I have ever met, and it's a real honor to have you in this space. I was wondering if you would mind sharing what led you to come and work with me.
Yep. Well, so I'll honour you as well, Cathy. So thank you. I'm grateful to be here and standing on this space and sharing it. You came into, as you use the word, orbit initially through someone who had purchased one of your books and shared that, and I'd used her services for marketing, basically, to learn how to market. And it was one of the books on bullying that you had created. And over the last, so during 2022, which I think eventuated into being one of the biggest years of drama, not just for me as well, I do realize globally, they're my two amazing souls that I'm grateful to be a parent, to be, they chose me as their parent, had finally, we had hit this crescendo of what my 10-year-old had been going through since beginning primary school, and then 2 years later my 8-year-old. So it all came together, so it started for her journey in 2020, and for his journey it started in 2018. So and I knew that I was doing a lot of self-development and self healing and business creation, and knew that I needed to do work for me. And I just put a call out to the universe and just asked if there was something that I could do, because it was like what needed to happen, and I knew that I wanted patterns to stop. And the only way those patterns can stop is by taking leadership. So that made me, and then, yeah, as I said, you just appeared in my, as the algorithms do it sometimes, you appeared in my feed, and I reached out initially and received the blueprint, and then I let that sit and resonate with that before I went and took next steps. So, and it resonated deeply because it was about understanding that, because I am someone who is who creates their compelling future, who has created their compelling future, and is now on that journey of what and who I need to work, what I need to do, and who I need to work with to achieve that.
Absolutely.
In the full capacity. So not just from a life perspective, but relationship, business, spirituality, all of that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, what I loved about our work together is just the dedication and passion and focus that you have as a parent, just to show up so vulnerable and courageous, all wrapped up in one, to say, hey, I need to break some generational cycles here. I can see that things are happening, but I'm not sure how to disrupt that pattern. And, to really have that leap of faith and trust is such an honor for me when a parent does that. And, when we had our sessions together, so magical, so many shifts, and just immediate connection, almost otherworldly when we were in session. And it was just such a divinely orchestrated, sacred experience from my receiving of you in the situation. How did you find the process, and what sort of shifts did you feel that you had? And very quickly, you went very deep, very fast, and you really shifted very quickly. So can you speak to that a little bit?
I can, and thank you. Wow, that was just I'm receiving that with just such grace and honor in that space. As someone, so I have a deep practice, and I have spent and when I speak of that, it isn't just meditation. It has been the understanding that I have this commitment to that sort of practice. And so for me, it was, for the last 5 years, so yeah, since 2017, was working through that whole process. And even though as a leader and someone with the wisdom and the knowledge and putting that into action, we still have to always accept and honor the fact that we need teachers. Like we don't know everything. We're always going to be learning. And it's that autonomy and understanding to have that deep, utter respect. I also knew that even though the circumstances that had happened in our world with separation and the breakdown and toxicity of a married life, and then all of the journey that happened and built into sort of what crescendoed in 2017 and the impact that had, I knew that it was going to take, I was like one of these, I used to sort of think, look, let's just fix it now, and let's just fix it now. But then I realized that over time, it's going to take different time for different people. It's like grief. It's any of those deep emotions it is. So the children, both of them were experiencing it in different ways, and then depending on their circumstances. So the fact that for me, that I was actually open and ready. And it was the permission and the fact, and it was that I had built that trust, and I knew because I'd asked, because I'd worked through that whole process. And so it wasn't the children that needed to be fixed, and no one was broken either. It was the fact that I could see what was going on, and it was like, and because I'd just come out of co-authoring a book, and when I had written that chapter, which was labeled, I can't even remember what it was. It was about coming out of the cave, bringing the darkness to the light. But I had always covered this whole thing about you repeat what you don't repair. And so then the intention is then that when you do repeat, it's about how you write it so that you don't bring the threads through of the past. So that's not forgetting them or dissolving them or cancelling them, which is where we do have issues that happens. It's about dissolving them and honouring them, and actually then going through that forgiveness process. So for me, the deepness is that I have done a lot of, as I said, I've had a lot of work. I've worked in different modalities over a very long time, and it was just this time around, it was like I needed someone who I could be the self and understand and have those conversations, and then just trust and feel safe and feel comfortable to be able to be in my own container, and honor that, but still have those boundaries, and then and know that it was like, this is where it's going. I think there was a moment where we actually, life came in and we had to reschedule one of our sessions, and that's the sort of thing that you need. It's like, hang on, taking your child to hospital.
Yeah, that's right. I remember. Yeah, absolutely.
It's more important.
Absolutely. Yeah. But to have the confidence in that relationship that's going to be received exactly as it should be received.
Yeah, because life happens, and that's what I was just doing before this. I was trying to do a live, but it wouldn't work, so I had to record this commitment and it was like a debrief of the commitment. And then I basically, as I was writing it, it was the same thing. It was like life comes in, and we have this, and we have this whole thing that we set ourselves a goal, and then and we feel like we push through that. Where the thing is that it still wasn't, but it wasn't perfect, and I never expected it to be, because I knew that then it was going to create a ripple, and then I needed to then be able to, be malleable. So then by having that time space between sessions, and then like, as I loved and honor the fact that it was like, when you're ready,
yeah,
we'll catch up again, we'll follow through on that extra session. And it was like, and for some people it may not be necessary, but for me it was like there was this moment where it was just so there, and it was like, yep, it's a divinely timed. And because I have this understanding and trust within the universe that it's, don't push it, don't force it, and because then when you are coming to force it, you find that what ends up happening is it doesn't, you get stuck. So, but honoring that no matter what emotion happens and no matter what happens, and some of it, you can comfortably ugly cry, or
as we all do.
Yeah, as we all do, and to feel that. And that's the thing, is that as a human, I've done a lot of the work at home in my own space, and so it then made it, and so that's also did make it more comfortable as well, so that it's in your own space. But but then there has been times where I have had to like go into a different container. But yeah, so no. Yeah.
Yeah, what I really love about you particularly is that you are a leader, and you are incredibly intelligent, and you have this fantastic vision of what you're creating for the world. And yet you were able to honor your vulnerability in this area and reach through that to hold on to something, and to have that guidance and that support and that love and all of those things. And I feel like particularly female parents have this stigma of, we have to be perfect, we can't let any balls fall. If we do and somebody notices, that's just our worst nightmare, because we want to be this brilliant parent to our children, and we want them to have the most fantastic experience, and we want to show up in our power, and we want all of these things. And what I love about now is that strong people such as yourself, because you're a very strong person, very strong person. And I mean, I'm not going to speak to the details of your past, but I know what you have come through, and you are still showing up every day with heart-centered, powerful, loving direction and leadership for your family. And I love that more and more parents now are entering into that realm where they see being able to reach through for support, love, guidance in this village that I'm creating, this online village, because we were never supposed to do this on our own. And they're able to step into that with peace in their hearts, knowing that it's the right thing to do, and this is an elevation for them, which means it's an elevation for their kids. And that takes courage, and it takes insight and vision and trust and faith. And for someone like yourself to step into my orbit and give me that trust and faith and commitment to do the work, because you worked, like you did what you needed to do, you showed up fully every single time. That to me is so encouraging for the world, because the ripple effect from you can never ever measure. And so what you've done for yourself and for your family, it's not just for you guys, it's rippling out into the world. And I love that parents are now finding that courage to embrace an experience outside of themselves and say, I want to break generational cycles. I want to show up and be the best possible parent as I can be. And I want to be so present and clear in my vibration and energy that I provide that safe environment for my children to beautifully unfold. And I mean, you know, I love that. I mean, I saw we were talking the other day, because it wasn't just the sessions are over and we're done. We keep in frequent contact. And I had the pleasure of chatting with your son the other day, and he just made me beam, you know, and seeing the interactions between you. And it's just a beautiful thing to be part of.
Thank you. And I will, and I do, I receive that. And as a human who realized that validation was something that I lacked in my upbringing, and there is no blame, shame, or anything around that. And you know, I keep reminding myself, and then what it all came down to is that I realized that it's about remembering how to do those things for yourself. And so, you know, so while it's beautiful to receive that, and we need it. Yeah. We're human, we do need it. And yes, it is true. There was never, ever anything about doing this on our own. And that frustrates me, that we do have this, especially being a solo, like being that solo parent. I don't even like using that word, where the thing is that, but to have those moments where it's like, actually, I am alone in this in some ways, where, because it's like you can't just ring at a drop of a hat, like, and go next door and go, can you look after the kids?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or the squids, as I call them. But it is about building those different relationships and those different trusts. So it's been an evolution, and I'm having conversations with people now that are only just starting to, you know, extend those boundaries for their children. And I've said, well, I'm grateful for the pandemic, because the thing was, and the technology that we have. I said, because that was when it actually all sort of started for the squids, because I had to go to the supermarket and they weren't allowed to come.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So we're in that space, and it's like, so to dive into all of this, it was the fact that it was, there was no, I think there was no half-assing about it. Like,
yeah, you know, I love that.
Well, in the words of, I think that's actually, that comes through, I do honor that I think that comes through Matthew McConaughey, from his book, Green Lights. But it is, there's no half-assing with this at the moment. And it was the fact that it was, because I can sit, because I can see what the potential has already been created and how we can get there. It's about the journey of getting there, and doing that with the squids, and the interactions, and I think what we have to also understand with parenting, but with this whole thing as well, is that it's not always bells and whistles and, you know, you're good and all this sort of stuff. It's like, you've actually got to, the kids have to understand who they are and what their emotions are and how that works. And so that dissolving of the generational, and for me it was, and as you know, it wasn't just like one generation.
Yeah.
There was a multitude. But I still learned that what actually ended up having to happen is that it was that understanding balance of the masculine and the feminine energy, that dance that we actually have to do, that it's that as a human, it doesn't matter what physical gender we currently hold, it's that beautiful energy of the two, and they have qualities that can dance together, and it's just naturally playing in that. And then so for me it was finding that alignment, rather than being on this like pendulum of, you know, complete masculine energy, or, you know, going, oh, I'm searching for my feminine. It's like, no, actually, so through that. But yeah, it has been incredible. And it has enabled different conversations with people, and people have noticed things that are different, and life does come first. And so it did change my perspective of how I looked at my business and what I needed, and then what is best for the future, and how do we align all of that, and then doing it together rather than being scared to ask for help, you know, and then having these different ideas. Like,
yeah, amazing. And I love, 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 and you know that I love that you said no guilt, shame, blame. And I was talking to a gorgeous parent yesterday, and they were showing up again in this fear energy of, I'm not getting this right, I'm failing my kids, you know. And I said, can we just stop? Can we just stop there? I said, guilt, shame, and blame, they have no place here. There is no judgment. That this is an experience. You're moving from one chapter into another chapter. This is part of evolution. Oh, and you can just see the relief, you know. And this is, we're all imperfectly perfect. We're all we're all works in progress. We're all masterpieces. We're all building our tapestries. And, you know, it's us that puts the labels on, this was negative, this is positive. Where actually, if we can just say, this is all experience enriching me in so many different ways, in so many different ways that it was packaged that I wouldn't possibly have asked for. However, it's led me to this growth or evolution, then we're just able to embrace it so much more. So I love that you said that. If there's somebody watching that's thinking about working with me and coming and joining the community, the Parent Collective, what advice would you give them?
Advice. That's such an interesting word, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, because I always use the word guidance, where it's the fact. So for me, what I would share is that if you have this feeling that there is more, that there is something more, and that more isn't aligned with the quality that you have currently in your life, then you will be, this pathway will take you towards the place where you ultimately want to be, if that makes sense. So it is about, it's, as I explained it, is because I'm a person who works with humans to see their compelling future.
Yeah.
You and and this whole amazing collective and gathering of humans is you are a leader in that in one of those components. And with what it is about, it's not about fixing you or fixing your kids. It's actually about dissolving and remembering how amazing you are, and how amazing your children are, and how we're all different individuals, and then how we can all just play and dance and walk home.
Yeah, I love that so much, Suzanne. Honestly, you have such a way with words, and it's such a beautiful honor to be. And I have got to know your children as well through, and you know, that's always such a joy and a gift, and to hear you beam when you speak about them, and you know, you're so heart-centered, and you just I think the thing that I really love about you is you allow them to unfold exactly as they need to, but with loving boundaries and guidance and
Mm.
all of those things so that they can really, head towards their true potential. And I love, love, love that.
Yeah, because it's so in closing, it's like, because it's I've always said to the kids, it's to the squids, it's like, love everyone and tell the truth. And it's interesting because it took a while, but I kept telling them the caveat. I said, just because I love you doesn't mean I have to like you all the time. And they said, oh, like your actions. And then once they got that, then it made them understand that it's like, okay, yeah, and thank you. It's like, yeah, the kids, even just today, they had school assembly, and we had, it was a really interesting experience, and it was just there to sit and observe that whole thing. So to watch them grow and be who they are, and allow them to, yeah. And that's what it comes down to, is that they're safe and they know who they are.
Yeah.
They're comfortable to be able to
Yes.
ask questions. And and I'm grateful for you, Cathy, because it's understanding. As I said, none of us are taught how to parent, and everyone, and we just sort of need to be able to have those conversations, and that's what it comes down to. And there's no silly questions. So
Absolutely, absolutely. And really, it's about amplifying your unique strengths as a parent,
mm, yeah,
because I'm not the right parent for your kids. You're not the right parent for my kids. There's no
that's
one way to parent. So once you really come home to self and amplify your amazing strengths and your vision and that trust, that deep, deep trust of self,
right.
that's when the magic really starts to happen.
Exactly, 100%. And that's what it comes down to, is it all just comes back to the self. It comes back to the self.
Yeah.
And as I said, if the practice of validating, you can self-validate and know that it's it's not about that there is no failure, because and that's another word. I think Pema Chodron did it best by saying fail, fail again, fail better.
Yeah.
And that's what life is. That's what business is.
Absolutely.
That's what
Yeah.
parenting is. That's what, everything is. It's like, it's the journey. And it's just and seeing the light and the humor in that,
Yeah, absolutely.
and the joy and the pain.
Yes, absolutely. And watching them develop. I mean, this morning I raised my voice slightly to get some urgency into my nearly 6-year-old to get her socks on. And I don't raise my voice. So I raised my voice and she turned to me quite disgusted. She just stopped what she was doing in her tracks. And she turned to me and she looked me deep in the eyes and she went, "You're fired." And I just thought, you think that's a threat, but I could actually do with a holiday, but it was so funny. I just love the feistiness of her.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is the fact that you have to get that, like, or even in those moments, if I it's like, yeah, if I've asked for the third time, can you, it's the normal getting them into the car to get to school, and then you'll sort of like walk off and not storm off, but even if they find that it's like, if I go silent, it's it's not that I'm going silent to give them the silent treatment. It's like I'm actually saying a mantra to myself,
Yeah.
to just like dispel what's going on, going,
Yeah.
hang on, okay, we're and then it's like, and then the 8-year-old will come in and stands at the doorway. Love you, mummy.
Yeah. 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 Just
And you
touching
go,
base with you. I'm just touching base. I'm still here. Oh,
and that's the thing. It's like, and that's what's happened, is that they've actually learned, and the stuff that it is, it's like, so what I didn't learn, but what I learned in all of my practices, with all of my teachings, with my Reiki and my yoga, and even all the change management stuff, it's all the same stuff.
yeah.
It all comes down to leadership.
Yeah.
And it's, and to have that even reflected yesterday in parent teachers, interviews was happened with the PE teacher with with my 10-year-old son. It was like he was talking about leadership, and he said, I've noticed that you there's different games that you enjoy playing, and then there's other ones that you don't. And then he said, but you're when it's something that doesn't involve too much, focus on winning and deep competition, which can happen and happens a lot, unfortunately. He said, in different places you have qualities. And then he happened to mention, and I have to share this, he happened to mention, and he goes, you rated highest out of the entire year fives on golf. And I was like, oh. And I just sat there, and then I chuckled, because I was like, golf. Because I remember what I used to think about golf until I actually started deeply practicing meditation and yoga and doing a lot of philosophical research. It's actually the game of the self. It's actually like it's the Bhagavad Gita. It's all of them. It's because golf is you're playing against yourself, so it's your ego against yourself. So and then I went, awesome, great. So now he's going to want to learn to play golf. So
yeah, that's amazing. Oh my goodness. Well, Suzanne, thank you so much for being here today and for sharing your story with everybody. I really honor and appreciate you, and we're obviously very much in each other's lives, and I love that, and we'll continue to be in each other's lives. And I just really am thankful for you sharing your story and experience, and I look forward to our future.
So do I. I look forward to what ripples. So thank you very much. I'm honored.
Thank you, honey. Oh, what's going on?
Oops.